One thing that's true for all moms, we have a lot of stories to tell. Some are silly, some are gross, some bring us to tears. With each story that's shared, another mom feels a little less alone. So join us as we laugh, learn, and grow together. It's the I'm Mom podcast. Welcome to this episode of the I'm Mom podcast. I'm Abby with Susan and Megan, and we're excited to have a guest with us this week. Laura Rutledge is a reporter for Monday Night Football. She hosts NFL Live on ESPN and hosts SEC Nation on the SEC Network. More importantly, Laura is a wife and a mother of two, and we are just so excited that she believes in the mission of iMom to help moms love their families well, and that she's with us on the podcast today. Hi, Laura.
I'm so excited to be with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we dig into today's topic, which is finding joy in the chaos, we want to help all of our listeners get to know Laura a little bit better with a segment that we're calling 5 Simple Questions. And it's just like it sounds, 5 simple questions. So, Laura, are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So question number 1, when it comes to your marriage and kids, give us your stats.
We're about to come up on our 10-year wedding anniversary, December 7th. So really exciting. And it's been so much fun. I mean, Josh and I were just talking last night. We're like, how have we been married for 10 years? Like, we feel like we're still kind of young. We got married really young, but just really cool to kind of get close to that big mile marker. And then we have 2 kids. We have Reese, who is our girl, who's 4 years old, and then Jack, who's 5 months old, who was born May 25th. So just so much fun. And then we have a little dog named Remington, who is about to be 10 because he's been with us our entire marriage. We got him right after we got married.
Well, if you want to know more about Laura's kids, you've got to follow her on Instagram because they are hilarious.
Laura, what do you love the most about motherhood?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that has been really cool is I always wanted kids. I always wanted a family, and that was so important to me, but I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it while also having a career. And my career was really important to me too. And so I think, it's been amazing just seeing how God kind of worked through all of that for me and made it all happen. I mean, when we got pregnant with Reese, we had been trying to get pregnant for a couple of years. And it was just one of those things where it was like, maybe it's not going to happen, or maybe God has other plans. And I was trying to come to terms with that. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, okay, it's finally happening. And of course, this baby's going to be due in football season. And I thought, why? Why would that happen? That's not right, because this is going to be so difficult. And I think what's been, one of my favorite things, and still my favorite things, is like finding ways to make all of this work, even though it can be so crazy at all times. And then finding those moments to just celebrate in the joy of having little ones. I keep seeing this quote right now, and I feel like it's supposed to be speaking to me, but it's the quote that's floated around on social media, where it's like, if you have tucked a child into a warm bed tonight, you have the richest gifts. You are so blessed. And so I keep trying to remind myself of that and all the craziness and chaos. Yep. But I mean, truly it is just, watching your little ones sleep soundly is even something to be thankful for.
Yeah. Question 3, what part of motherhood would you be happy to never have to deal with again?
Oh my goodness. So this is like, this is such a funny thing, but my husband will laugh when he sees this. I have such a fear of like stomach problems and like, anything like throwing up, all those things. So anytime like anything like that's happening, or like there's somebody's sick at this preschool or something, I'm like losing my mind. And I have been known to go into the school with Reese and then found out someone had the stomach bug, and we just walked right out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, forget it.
I don't blame you.
I'm not doing it.
I like chase my kids around with Lysol wipes and wipe off every surface.
Like if I could eliminate that, I'd be like, oh, everything's great.
Yeah. If you had a night alone and got to control the television, what would you watch?
Okay, so I love forensic files and, all of those like
crime junkie.
And my husband hates that stuff. He's like, this is so creepy. Why do you want to watch this? And so he never wants to watch it. And I'm always like, anytime I'm on the road, I never really have time to like watch TV. But if I do, I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity.
Yep. Okay. One more. In your opinion, which football team has the best uniforms?
Oh, there you go. Ooh. Fashion and football. I like it.
That is such a good one. Okay, so I really am a stickler for like the classic look of things, but I love the Ole Miss light blue uniforms.
Ooh.
I think they just look so good. And with the red accents, it's really, really cute. So, I'm sure that's what they want to hear about their uniforms.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why we ask.
All right, let's jump into today's topic. Here's a stat that I want you guys to think about. A recent survey conducted by Crayola. More than half of the respondents said they are too busy with commitments to spend quality time with their kids and enjoy the, quote, fun of parenting. And that's just kind of what I want to talk about today. You know, life is chaotic. Laura, you talked about it with work and everything. So how can we laugh at the things that are funny, be honest about our struggles, but ultimately celebrate the wins and live in the joy that exists every day that we get to be parents? You know, those nights that we do get to tuck them in, and like, how do we sit in that instead of get distracted by the chaos? I want to ask my first question, Laura, to you. We've all gotten that call at work that like, oh, there's the kids throwing up or whatever, and you're like, I got to scramble, I got to make it work. For you, you're doing live television, and that brings its own share of chaos. So like, do you have any chaotic mom moments in the middle of a workday?
Oh my goodness. Every day, I think is probably that. You know, I do feel really lucky that Josh has some flexibility in his career, and we have awesome help from our families and our nanny who's with us a lot. But it really is like one of those things where you just don't know what to do. You know, the amount of times when I've been at work, like even today, Reese has to go get a couple shots today. So, but I'll be on TV like while that's going on. So I'll be trying to, you know, do the show. And then if I'm off camera, like a quick text, like, hey, is she okay? You know, what's going on? And Josh will be like, she's fine, calm down, you know, everything's good. But, you know, that's even just an example from today, but there have been so many. I mean, there have been times when I have literally in the commercial break been like on the phone, like, do I need to leave the show and come home and hey, they'll figure it out. You know, I think for me, one of the interesting things has been just that shift, because I never really, until I had these sweet kids, I never really thought there would be anything more important than I'm on TV. This is my thing that I'm doing, and this is my career, and this is my show. And now I'm like, yeah, I'll drop any of that. Like whatever I need, I'll leave in the middle of the show. Who cares? You know, there's nothing more important. And so I think at least amidst all the chaos, you do sort of know what reigns supreme and what your priorities should be.
Yeah, that's good.
It's got to be stressful, though, because you have to be on the air while somebody's happening. So you have to look like you're happy and look like you're not distracted. I think that would be tough.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that it is funny. Like there have been many times my mom is about the only one that like really knows my faces, you know, and she'll be like, okay, why are you doing a fake smile and laugh right now? Like, what's wrong? You know, she'll message me and ask that, which she's absolutely right. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm worried about this or worried about that, which I think we all have that so much. It's just being like constantly consumed with the worry that comes with all of this. And I struggle with that, trying to sift through that and find the joys in what's going on as well.
Yeah. So what has, and this question is for everybody, what part of being a mom has brought you the most joy?
For me, it's just like watching the personalities grow. And Reese is, I mean, just such a pistol. She's so much fun. She is loud. She's just so verbose, and she says so many things. I mean, we were laughing so hard this morning. It's really cold here in Connecticut. And she got to school and she walks in the door and she said to the preschool director, Miss Julie, there's frosting outside.
Nice.
You know, so confident. And I think it's been really special to me to, you know, have a hand in raising a young woman and raising this little girl who is going to go out in the world and is going to be met with so many challenges, and trying to find ways to build her confidence and also keep her really humble and graceful and all of the things that, you know, I feel really fortunate my parents taught me. So that's been cool. And then already like little Jack's personality is coming out, and he's so different. So I think that's been a real joy for me, is seeing their differences and celebrating their little personalities and the little people that they're going to be.
Yeah. What about you, Susan?
Oh gosh, I'd have to definitely piggyback on that. It is so cool to, you know, be given this child when they're placed in your arms, and then watching what they become, and even seeing how circumstances in their life develop and they learn, and you at first can't imagine what they're going to be when they're grown up, and then in my case you get to see that and then watch like Megan's kids and just see these like, oh, that's definitely Hampton, or oh, that's Megan. It's so fascinating. It's a miracle, it's just really cool.
Yeah. Megan, what about you?
I would echo everything Laura said, and also add, they are so funny. They bring me so much joy because they say and do some of the funniest things and just make funny faces. And if I've had a stressful day at work or a tough situation or whatever, there is nothing like going and hugging a child or playing with a baby and just watching them enjoy the childlike phase that they're in, or the phase that they're in. They're just happy, joyful kids. And so it's so fun to watch them and to watch them interact with each other and just see how different they are. I always thought that, oh, I'm going to have kids just like my husband and I, but they are so different and such their own little people. And it's just so fun to get to watch and watch their little personalities come out and just see what little individual people they are.
I think for me, my kids have shown me how to be more spontaneous and silly. They just bring that side out in me. Like we did a fashion show a couple weeks ago and I looked just like a total idiot, but they don't care. They just want me to have fun. They just want to celebrate like all the good stuff with me. And I need more of that in my life. So that's just been great. There's a lot of things I think that distract us from the joy, like comparison, pressure, worry that we're doing it wrong, being busy, or just being exhausted. So Laura, like on the topic of busyness as something that distracts from the joy, you have to be busy. I'm sure you are busy. And a lot of people say, well, I'm going to wait till I have kids until I've done all of these things. I'm going to travel. I'm going to establish my career. I'm going to be ready to settle down. You and Josh don't look like you're settling down. So how have you done that? And like, have you had to make adjustments?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the adjustments for us is trying to find ways to know that we have to be on a tight schedule, right? Like my mom even says this, she'll come help us and she'll say this. She's like, you don't have even a moment for one thing to not go exactly as planned, because if that happens, like the whole thing blows up, which I realize sounds kind of ridiculous. We're not like running some sort of army over here where we have to hit times, but it is that way if we're going to get everything done in a day. And so I think what has worked for us in all of the busyness is saying, all right, we're going to like do it this way. We're going to make sure that this is our schedule. We have the shared calendar, all those things that people do. We're going to try to communicate really well, because I think at times we had some communication breakdowns when we only had Reese and we were like, oh goodness, with one other baby, we're going to have to do better, and that's really helped us. But then I think what's really been important for us is making that time in the evenings when we do have both the kids asleep to just like sit down on the couch and talk. And at this point, I'm probably pumping Jack's next meal. I'm probably, working on some other things, but at least we're like spending that time together, which I think has made a big difference. And I think for us, that is like our settling down, that's the time of the day that we get for ourselves. And then the other thing I would say is figuring out, if you just have a moment where you're like, I just need to sit here and talk to the baby for a little bit, and I had that moment this morning where I'm going to be leaving town today. And I thought, you know what, there's probably some other things I need to be doing right now, like packing or I don't know, all those things. And that was like what I had planned to do. But then I was like looking at this little guy and talking to him. And I thought, this is a way better use of my time. Yeah. So I think throughout those moments of the day, I try to think, okay, am I prioritizing this particular moment in the best way possible? And I don't always get anywhere close to nailing it. Some days I'm like, okay, that went pretty well. And then other days I'm like, whoa.
Well, it's a shift in perspective of what productivity is. We think we're productive when we're checking off the to-do list, but really being productive is investing time and engaging and eye contact and playing. And it's just a different different perspective.
I think the other thing is knowing your own capacity. I think you have to know what we can handle, and then you have to draw those lines, and don't look at other people like, okay, this is what we can handle. Don't feel, that somebody else's level is where you need to be, or feel guilty if you're at a higher level and other people aren't. You know how your family is doing, and you know how your marriage is doing, and if you find your way, you got to feel good about it. And I feel like everybody has a different tempo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Why do you think that like the weight of motherhood is such a popular thing on social media? Why do you think our culture doesn't share more of the joys? Like, why is it so popular to talk about how much wine you need to drink or how you need to hide in the closet? It's like, it's being real for sure. But, what is it about, that honesty that is like really contagious and that people latch on to, instead of sharing, my kid smiled today and it made me smile and I loved it? Like, why is the negativity the thing that people go toward?
Yeah, Abby, I think that's a really good point because I've at times, like, I really don't share a lot of negative. And I've been accused at times by people of, oh, well, you're just living this like gorgeous fake life. And it's like, no, that's not true and all that. But I think I live in this world of feeling like I want people to know that I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a mom and to also have a job. And while many days I'm consumed with like anxiety and mom guilt and all of the things that every other mom I know feels, I don't want that to be the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I do feel important. I feel it's very important to control the narrative in some ways of how people would view my children, or if, who knows what social media is when they're old enough to know. And I actually hope it's gone, but.
Right.
Well, I just want you to know, I follow you and I never feel like you're not being real. I think you're an extremely positive person who's enjoying motherhood and your busy life.
Yeah.
And I think that comes across with both you and your husband. And that's why I find it so encouraging and fun to watch is, it's crazy. Like you're walking around on Halloween. That was hilarious. But, but you're laughing at it. You're laughing at the craziness.
Yeah.
You're not letting it pull you under.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I thank you. I appreciate that. And I think, I do think it's a really important topic to think about, is that I would never want Reese or Jack to look back and say, well, my mom was complaining about me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm so sensitive to the hardships of motherhood and how hard it can be and how some people have a harder time than I would have, or some people might even have an easier time. Everyone has their own journey and their own situation, kind of like what we were just talking about. But I would just never want them to feel like I didn't think that they were worthy of whatever sacrifice I would make for them.
Yeah. So let's leave our listeners with a trick or a habit that you incorporate into your day, something to pause the chaos and enjoy your family. Like, what do you guys do to set aside, kind of what we were saying earlier, set aside the chaos and just engage?
Who's first?
I can go first.
Yeah,
Have you guys heard of glimmers? Have you heard the term glimmer going around? So it's kind of like the opposite of a trigger. Triggers are cues that signal our brain that we're in danger. Glimmers are cues that signal safety and permission to unwind. And so the idea is, like, what your triggers are, know what your glimmers are, and like look for those. So it might be, when everyone is tucked in at the end of the night, instead of like moving on and scrolling or turning on your murder show or whatever, which is fine and good, you pause in that moment and you like let it actually like soak in for a second. You're like, oh, I feel peace right now. Or when you're sitting on the porch and the kids are playing in the leaves, or everybody has a good belly laugh, like actually say, you know what, all is right with the world right now, even though there is a lot going on. Everything is good right now.
Nice.
Just kind of taking in those glimmers.
I would say mine is I do way much better if I get up really early and I have just a little bit of quiet time to myself. And I like to get up when it's dark. I like to be quiet because when my kids were all home, 5, it was chaos once they woke up. And then I worked too. So it was quick. And then I always just ask throughout the day, God, okay, show me what I need to focus on. Help me catch whatever I need to catch is going on with my kids. So I'm very much like to live by the moment and not kind of dwell on what's coming too much.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's funny because we did, when Josh and I, first even started dating, we talked about love languages, and we we did that whole exercise, and one of his like really prominent love languages is physical touch. And I've noticed that I don't know as much about Jack yet. Like we're still learning him because he's only been here 5 months. But Reese is very much a physical touch girl. And so what I found is really a nice kind of reprieve from everything. It's just like grabbing her, holding her, she still wants to be held, which I'm like, as long as she'll let me hold her, I'll do that, and so we'll just, even just like sitting on the couch and being cozy for a second, and kind of living in that moment and really to y'all's point, put the phone away, don't be watching anything. Just, really focus on that and even having like a little conversation with her. So that's one thing. But then one of the routines that we have that I really try to protect is putting her to bed. And so that looks different every night because sometimes it's real frustrating because she doesn't want to go to bed. Like last night when she was coming up and down the stairs a million times and we're like, Reese, you got to go to bed. But what we try to do is read stories and talk about the day, and just she wants me to rub her back and, things like that, which I find that I'm sure she's getting something out of that, but I'm probably getting way more out of that than she's even getting, because it is a quiet time where there's no phone. It's just her and I, we're talking, and then Josh actually gets some alone time too, which is probably nice for him, like just a moment to, and he usually puts Jack to bed. So I think that's been special for them. And we realized like, okay, we've got to split this up because this is not really a one-person job right now in this phase of life. I do not know how you did 5 kids. I'm like admiring that so much. But
two I didn't get till they were way past that stage. They were older, but yes, it is. It got crazy.
But no, I think those are ways to kind of like stop and smell the roses throughout your day a little bit.
Yeah. Megan?
So my oldest, James, he goes to a little half-a-day preschool. And so when he comes home from school, it's usually around like 12:30 or so. And sometimes he's in the mood to chat and sometimes he is just pretty quiet. And so we kind of play this game that we call conversation. And so I will try to be very present and engage with him through this little game that we play. And so I'll say, James, do you like baseball or soccer better? And he'll give me his answer. And so we'll run through a little series of questions like that. And I'll try to work in some from his day. And I'll say, did you have music or art today? Did you make something with blue or with red? And so it's giving him these short questions to try to draw things out of him and really try to engage with him and hear more about his day. But also, I know people say this all the time, that they say when you're at work, be at work, and when you're at home, be at home. And I really try to keep that in my mind, because sometimes I can let work drag past work time and really kind of mix the two, especially because I work from home. And so I really try to shut it down and really focus all my attention on them and play with them when I'm not working.
Well, we want to know how you find joy in the chaos. So engage with us on social media. We're imom.com on Instagram, and you can follow Laura at Laura M. Rutledge on Instagram. And Laura, thank you so much. We hope you come back again. We would love to chat with you in the future.
Yes, I can't wait for the next one.
Laura, thank you so much for being here today. It has just been so great to have you and hear all of your parenting and motherhood journeys. And you just have some great insight and just such a cool life that we get to follow. So thank you so much for being on. And we're so excited to have you on again in the near future.
Thanks for listening to the iMom podcast. iMom is the motherhood program of the nonprofit organization Family First. Along with our fatherhood program, All Pro Dad, we exist to help you love your family well. Subscribe to our daily email, the iMom Minute, by going to imom.com/subscribe and get tons of great ideas, insight, and inspiration. The iMom podcast is hosted by me, Abby Watts, along with Susan Merrill, Megan Tigner, and Chloe Blumenthal.